Okay, let's talk about something we're seeing everywhere lately, from celebrity headlines to probably some of our own lives. It's this clash that can happen when you have a strong, successful woman paired with a man who, well, seems kind of thrown off by it. So let's get into it. Right? It's the big question. You see a woman who has her act together. She's got a great career, she's confident, she knows who she is. And for some reason, that very strength seems to cause drama in her relationships. So, what is really going on here?
Before we can even start to unpack the conflict, we've got to be on the same page. What do we actually mean when we say a strong, independent woman?
Now, what's really interesting here is what this definition isn't. It's not about being aggressive or anti-man or not wanting a partner. It's really just about capability. She's built her own foundation, financially, emotionally. She doesn't need a partner to survive or to feel good about herself. She chooses one. That's a huge difference.
And when you look at these key traits, they're all things that honestly sound pretty great, right? Taking responsibility for your life, always trying to be a better person, knowing your own worth, and actually being cool with spending time alone. These are the signs of a mature, healthy adult. And that's what makes the friction so confusing. So this brings us to the core of the issue, this huge paradox. It's the gap between what a lot of men say they want in a woman and how some of them actually feel when they're with one. The data on this is just fascinating. Check this out. On one side, you have a match survey where a whopping 87% of men say, yeah, sure, I'd totally date a woman who makes more money than me. But then you look at another study and it tells a totally different story. Men who are actually in that situation often report feeling less satisfied with their lives. So there's this major disconnect between the idea of it and the reality of it. And that internal conflict, that discomfort, it doesn't always just stay internal. Sometimes it spills out and turns into attempts to regain a sense of power or control in the relationship. We've actually seen this exact dynamic play out very publicly, with some really successful women accusing their partners of trying to bring them down a peg. For instance, look at the accusations against actor Jonah Hill from his ex-girlfriend, Sarah Brady, who's a professional surfer. She released messages where he allegedly made requests just like this one. Now, on the surface, you could argue it's about privacy, but you can also see how it could be an attempt to control her public image, which is a huge part of her career and her identity. Okay, so we've got the paradox. We see the disconnect, but let's break it down even further. Where specifically does the tension actually build? Well, our sources point to a few key friction points. First up, she just can't be controlled. A strong woman knows her boundaries and, more importantly, she enforces them. She's not going to sit there and justify her every move, and this is the big one, she has enough self-respect to walk away if the relationship becomes unhealthy. For a partner who feels insecure, that lack of leverage, that inability to control her, can be seriously threatening. The second friction point is her self-sufficiency. Look, she's not looking for someone to complete her. She's already a whole person. She enjoys her own company and isn't desperate for constant attention. And she's dating the person in front of her right now, not some idealized version of who they could be someday. So if a guy's sense of self-worth is all tied up in being the provider or the rescuer, her independence can make him feel, well, kind of useless. And third, she demands authenticity, no games. She wants a real, genuine emotional connection. She's direct, she doesn't really sugarcoat things, and she has a really good gut instinct. That kind of clarity can feel like a harsh spotlight, It exposes anyone who isn't being sincere or emotionally available, and that's incredibly intimidating if you're not ready to be real. So are these friction points just about individual personalities clashing, or is there something bigger going on? The sources suggest the roots of this go much, much deeper, right into the foundations of our society. They really point to three big forces at play. You've got the patriarchy, these centuries-old ideas about who's supposed to be in charge in a relationship. Then there are possible evolutionary factors that might prime men to be more competitive. And of course, you've got the modern rise of so-called alpha male culture online, which doubles down on a lot of these old, outdated ideas. And this all leads to a really crucial psychological flip. Within that old school framework, a woman's success isn't celebrated as a win for the team. Instead, it gets twisted and seen as a direct threat to her partner's power, to his status. It feels like a humiliation that he thinks he has to push back against, often by trying to tear her down or control her. So after looking at all this, what's the big idea we should walk away with? What's the final takeaway? This quote from a Glamour article just perfectly reframes the whole thing. It suggests that when a man tries to diminish his successful partner, it's not actually about her. It's not because she's too ambitious or too much. It's about his reaction to it. It's about his own insecurity when faced with a dynamic that society never really taught him how to handle.
And that really brings us to the final question I want to leave you with. When we see this happen, is the real problem her success, her confidence, her ambition? Or is what we're actually seeing just a reflection of his own insecurities as he tries to navigate a world that's changing faster than he is? It's definitely something to think about.